improved from the opening day of practice through to the last game. Summit didn't always have the biggest.
It was a 16-point third quarter for the Linden Tigers, including a touchdown run by Jason Hannibal. So that gave
you guys, they're too young to be moving.
$10 for every
Get you on tape here. Make it on tape tonight. Yep. Can you look up the sound here? Let us know when you're ready. You ready? Okay. This is Retta Hearn, class of 47, playing 46. And Red Leonard set the record for strength. He caught 8 touchdown passes in 1945. Is that correct?
Last year you played for
Who was the quarterback in those days? Sonny Clark. And
right here.
Seth, your junior. Who were some of the other players that you were
You're not old.
Did you get a ticket for the game tomorrow?
Yeah.
No, my kid's playing somewhere else.
Did you get a ticket? Give us something.
Tom Guida.
David and Daniel, right?
And the coach was Coach Gordon.
Your senior football year, which was 1 year, not the year you graduated.
Oh, that's what that was. What year was that? Oh, wait, I'm having secretary. That's why.
Red also coached at Summit for many years with Howie Anderson.
89.
And you're famous for the games when it got dark, Red. What are some of the plays you would call when it got dark?
For the old timers.
The double end around when it was dark. All right, thanks. I have with me Bob Shivers, class of 1952. His senior year was 1951. Bob, do you have a few memories there of playing at Summit High School? Share with us?
Last year you played for
Enjoyed. I only played 2 years. I think the game that I enjoyed most was my first year against Glenbridge. Playing the old single wing against single wing, and it was really a terrific game.
Is that Coach Cambridge?
That was Coach
Good
Campbell.
to hear tonight. Looking forward to seeing
I
you.
was his name on the program.
Bob, where are you now?
I live in Jersey City.
Still in the area.
Right. Retired from the post office. Still living over in Jersey City.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. Ernie Aquaviva, what year did you play at Summit? 47 and 48. But besides known as a football player, Ernie is one of the most avid sports fans at Summit. How long have you been following Summit High School and the kids?
Since about 1942.
Because I know growing up, you always gave us a lot of encouragement. We're always there.
I enjoy it.
And the Giants too,
Yeah,
right?
the Giants.
That's close to your heart. What are you doing now, Ernie?
Manager at the Douglas Field.
Here in Summit.
I heard it's going
This is Peter Druitt, class of 89, but you played senior year was 88, right? Peter was a safety and at least in one game a quarterback too, right?
Made it for a while.
What was that game?
Linden. Senior year, I played the ring late. We took it 14 down. It was a good game down in
At
Linden.
Linden, I remember that.
Great game.
What are you doing now, Peter?
I'm a senior at Paxson University.
You're going to be out in that cold world, huh?
I hope so.
If you get out in the cold world, do what you did in football, really, you'll have no problem.
How we doing? Pleasure to be here, especially with you, Stretch.
I don't know.
Plus, I'm taking one of these. Hey, Bill, we say.
I don't know.
guys.
61.
You went the year, last year.
That's right. Right on the top.
Yeah, which is about 250. Yeah.
No, second Fred. Second Fred. I'm sorry.
5. They lead the pack. Most of them won. 67.
Last year I played, right. My dad's here too. The first Fred is here too. He got way late. He's taller.
It's too hard for them to pretend to be
Look. I missed it, man. They're just talking about you. I just missed it. Thank you very much.
I'll let you.
How you doing? On my knee here. Hey, Ben. Thank you.
I don't Oh, well, yeah, you can put down,
I'm Frank. I'm Mrs. Niece.
right? 41.
How you doing? Good, how are you? You're leaving Sunday, huh? Yes, ma'am. Have a safe...
Robert working.
Hey.
There you go. And you're Robert Lop, you're living in Chatham, right? And you're guard.
Let me get inside here. Spread a little propaganda. Something to drink.
Okay, and the name, please? First
My father, you're still got your brother here?
There you go. Yeah, write your name and last name.
Every 3 months.
Sit in your crib before you go
How you been?
I'd like to extend the most warm and sincere word of welcome to all the Hilltoppers who are here tonight. My name is Don Geddes, and I'm a Hilltopper, and I'm goddamn proud of it. I want to say that. Pardon me, Reverend Denver. It has taken 4 football coaches to try to stabilize and discipline this group, and they haven't been successful. I don't see why I should expect to be successful in getting any attention here at all. I want to welcome everyone who has come here tonight, not only to honor high school football in Summit, but to honor each other and the memory of many of our classmates and teammates who are not able to be here with us tonight. And I'd like to introduce Reverend Norman Dunsmore, class of 1931, who will lead us in an invocation.
I just want to say, all county and all state, when Coach Carnog was our coach, we did win the state championship. It was fun. It was fun. I say that because I happen to be a chaplain in the county prison, and some of those men think ministers are all softies or sissies or something. That's not true. Could we first have just a brief prayer remembering those who have gone ahead of us, who have played football at Summit High? And then I will close with Robert Burns' Selkirk Grace. I think you'll enjoy it. I won't put too much of my Scottish accent into it, because my life began in Scotland, but I'll have to use some of it. So let us bow, not to any coach or anything else, but let's bow to the Lord. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the privilege of being in the sports, of having health and strength when we were younger perhaps, but bringing us now into your presence through prayer. We remember those whom we have loved and lost a while. We know that those who have gone on are in your hands of love and of care and compassion. And now, some come eat, but cannot eat. And some would eat, but want to. Now we whom eat, and we can eat. So let the Laird be thanked. Amen.
I don't know of that table's got to go. I don't know of any high school in the history of the state of New Jersey that has made an effort to get together to commemorate 100 years of football in any school in the state. I think this is a singular event. I want to congratulate Gil Warren and the members of his committee who have worked so hard to do this. I want to tell Gil that he owes me one for attempting to try to even control half of this crowd that's here tonight. I again want to welcome you. I want to tell you what our program is. Our program really is what we've been doing up until this point, and that's an opportunity for Hilltoppers going back into the archives to get together and to talk about all of the punts and the passes and the prayers, and to extend the runs about 5 yards and the weights about 50 pounds and the events about 30 minutes, because that's what we're here for. We're here to talk. We're here to have a good time. We're here to renew friendships. We are here also to give an opportunity to the head coaches who have guided the football program throughout the 100 years that we are here to celebrate. And we're going to do that in a very special way, and we're going to do it in this way. Prior to dinner, we're going to honor the Cornaugures, the Elwood Cornaugures. Obviously, Coach Cornaug is deceased, will not be here. But there are some members of this team. There are some members of this team who are here who want to be heard to recognize the Elwood Cornaug years. We're going to talk about a guy who is seated in the back of the room who talks something like this by the name of Peter Kandrat, who was a coach in our high school for many years and a math teacher. How many of you remember Kandrat? After each of these presentations, we're going to have some special awards. We're going to break for dinner, and then after dinner, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the Howie Anderson years. We're going to talk about the Jim Benedict years, and we're going to conclude our program. We're going to have give you a chance to do what you want to do best, and that's simply to talk. Okay, I'd like at this point to introduce Gil Warren, class of. Well, he almost made the class of 1958, who has a couple of special awards. Gil?
We'll try to have the awards with the era honored, and start with the Cornaug years. The first undefeated team in Summit was 1928, and we have at least two members of that team who are present. one who came from California, called us when we got this thing going about 6 months ago, and said he would be here. We raised a few eyebrows, and he's here from California. Played in 1928. Cue Ball Bryden. Would you stand up? His teammate from the same year, Bill Fair. Bill, would you stand up, please? Many of you are probably, when you hear the word Bright, name Bright, one of the best football players that ever played at Summit. Unfortunately, could not be here tonight, but he's still going strong. Robert Bull Bryden. Now, we have, there's one final award before we get on to the Cornog years that relate back to the Cornog years. There are two families here that tied for the most family members present tonight. One is Cornog man Dom Quita and his four sons, David, Robert. Is there anyone else here who claims to be a Quita? The other family with five is the Genowaldis. The five Genowaldis, please stand up. Where are you? They're all short. Will the five Genowaldis please stand up? Please stand up. Oh, okay.
The Elwood Cornog years comprise a 20-year period of 1926 to 1946. We're going to ask Leroy Brennan, the class of 1936, and Al Schmitz, the class of 1934, to come up on the platform, please. I would ask the Genowaldis to come up, but I just had all my teeth checked last week. In 1927, thank you, Madam, I'll point to that. In 1927, when Elwood Cornog became head football coach at Summit High School, following, by the way, his brother, Allen, Albert J. Bartholomew was principal of the high school. The musical that year was one called, and this is a very catchy title, Enter the Villain, by Merlin S. Temple. How many people remember Merlin S. Temple? And it starred, put your hand down. Enter the Villain starred such characters as Gregory McNabb, Doris Holden, and Flora Galloway. The faculty advisor of the debate club was a gentleman of Wendell H. Woodside. The girls' basketball coach was a lady by the name of Grace Jones. And And by the way, the girls' basketball team that year scored 204 points and their opponents 106. And in the 1927 yearbook, this was, and I quote this was the joke. Mother, yes, Marge is studying French and algebra. Say good morning in algebra, dear, and that brought the house down. The football captain was a gentleman named George Steidel. The manager was Ed Brister, and the coach was Mr. Elwood Cornog. The record was 5-4, and if you look through that yearbook carefully, you will also find that the head basketball coach was a gentleman by the name of Elwood Cornog. And if you look at the baseball picture, you'll find that the head coach's name was a gentleman by the name of Elwood Cornog.
Well, he just took my opening saying about Cornog being a head coach of 3 varsities: football, basketball, and baseball. Coach was a very, very sensitive individual as far as I knew him. He was very kind, took time with us. I played with him under him for 3 years. I never once ever heard him criticize one of the players that I played with for doing something. You'd take him off to the side and you'd talk to him. You'd give him confidence. And I think every once in a while he would go, You fellows that were playing under him, you knew what I was doing. And talking about how swell individual Cornog was. We were playing, and I think it was 1933 or 34 in Plainfield. And on the opening kickoff, Alan Smith received the kick. Went down the field, and they clobbered him and broke his leg. Cornog took Alan in, kept him for approximately 6 weeks with Mrs. Cornog as a private nurse for him. Now, that came from Cornog's heart. What a wonderful person he was. And I think he left a lot of good impression on all the boys that he's had throughout the year in gym and on the athletic field. I'm just proud to be one of his projects, and he taught me how to operate in the world and in business. Thank you.
I'm now going to talk about Elwood Cornog, the man, and not the coach, because I felt part of my family. When I first came to Summit, and I was fortunate to get on the team, and that summer Coach took me to a camp called Wyomissing up in the Poconos. And I sort of misbehaved. I was away from the family, and there was a girls' camp across the lake, and I didn't get back. I was supposed to work in the kitchen, and I didn't get back many times. And one time I was asked to leave, and Coach went up to the head of the camp, and he said, if he leaves, we all leave. And of course I was able to stay the rest of the summer, still went over the camps. But they also took me up to Maine with the family. And I have never seen a tougher man than Elwood was, Coach was. We would go out on the lake fishing, and all of a sudden you'd see these damn black flies coming, and they were clouded, as you could see a black cloud coming toward her. And I'd say, well, don't you think we better go in? he kept me out all day, and it didn't seem to bother him one bit, but it bothered the hell out of me. And I was sick for a few days after that. He could do anything as long as he put his mind to it. He was a strong person. And I just can't say how much he has meant to me over the years. At the end, when Coach was in the hospital, and he was dying, he knew he would die, and he didn't want to go on. Every night, he would pull all the tubes out of him, and they would just raise hell with him the next day. But this is what he wanted, and everything that Coach wanted, he did it the right way. And I say, and I'm sure those who served under him are proud to have known him as I am, and I love him dearly.
We have some special awards related to the Cornog years. We'd like to ask Gil Orr to return to the platform. Gil.
What we're going to do is talk about, we're going to now enter the can draft years. Yes? Okay, I'm sorry. We're now going to enter the can draft years. The awards with the Cue Ball and Bill Fair are really the Cornog years. To kick off the can draft years, we have a couple of things. First of all, I don't know if you've seen the field house at Tatlock, but this association put up a wall of fame of all the championship teams that played at Summit. And it's a beautiful wall that's in the varsity locker room, inspiration to the varsity now and in the future. And there's room at the bottom for future awards. Tonight, we have 10 members of the 1954-55 championship team. They won Suburban Conference champions, and Coach Kandrat is staying at my house tonight, but he said, you got to correct one thing. The 55 team was also co-state champions with Linden. And I can tell you, Coach, that'll be up there Monday. The members of the 1954 team that are present, I'd like them to stand, and then we'll give them a round of applause, and then we'll call on Coach Kandrat. Willie Mallory, please stand. Stay standing. Standing until we're done. Tell you what, we'll call them all, then we'll have one big hand at the end. Earl Nelson, Phil Ryan, Walt Mikey, Roger Faraday, Eddie Rillo, and where's Eddie? Get him in the room. Bugs Coleman, Jackie Robinson, Buddy Cerciello, Matt Duffy, and if there's anyone else that played on that team that's here, please stand and let's give them a big hand, fellas. Before Eddie sneaks away, we've got to give a hilltopper welcome to Eddie. We called him and said we're going to try to put this together. He said, how many are you going to have? I said, we'll have anywhere from 25 to maybe 250. No problem. I said, well, what are we going to do? He says, no problem. He said, you schedule it, you get the guys there, and I'll take care of it. Give him a big hand. Eddie Miller.
Second in only 4 coaches who span, Pete, I didn't introduce you. Sit down, will you please? I'll tell you, okay? Just, see, sit down, okay? There's only been 4 coaches in 100 years of Summit High School football history. And I have a very special relationship with Pete Kandrat, a very special relationship with Elwood Cornog, because I knew him personally. I knew his son was my very closest friend, and I played under both of these coaches. But in 1947 and 48, in that era, who was still principal? Albert J. Bartholomew. Leon Cross died while swimming in an incident in July of 1947. If you look at the yearbooks for that year, you'll find that B.H. Frumkin, established in 1907, was selling official gym outfits for tots to teens. I was very careful how I pronounced that. They were at 408 Springfield Avenue, and the girls' basketball coach was still Grace Jones. And enter a gentleman from Union who had been on the staff at Summit for some time at that point by the name of Peter Kandrak, and a fellow by Mort Ashman, and someone who was even a little squattier than that by the name of Glenn Lytle. And it was my pleasure to have those three gentlemen make my life miserable for 2 years in trying to learn to play this game of football. And I have to tell you one very quick story by way of introduction to Pete Kandrak. He's also my algebra teacher, okay? And in our first game of my senior year, we were picked to beat Springfield Regional by a considerable margin. They literally beat the hell out of us. And we lost our best back, Chester Cornog, who was injured seriously in that game, never played another game in high school. And on Monday we came out for practice, and we expected to be consoled by this warm individual, Peter Kandrak. And he gathered us around, and in his own inimitable fashion, and this speech is absolutely burned into my memory. He had a football in his hand, one of those old leather jobs, you know, and his old white sweatshirt. And he gathered us around. He said, "Boys," he said, "we're going to forget about Saturday. That doesn't mean anything." He said, "We're going to start right from basics." He said, "Boys, this is a football." And he said, "The purpose of this game is to advance this football up and down the field as many times as possible while preventing your opponents from doing what you do to them as often as possible. Is that clear?" And all I can tell you is that it was, without a doubt, including my military service, the worst week I have ever experienced in my entire life. But I have had great respect for Pete Kandrak, and I welcome him to the platform. Pete, will you come forward, please?
Recognize the fact that you can't be heard when you're sitting in the back. I've been known to be a very gentle, soft-spoken individual, so I really don't know where anybody got this idea that there's a loud-mouthed, blustering old fool up here. I admit to it. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thanks to the committee for dreaming up this idea and for inviting all of us to share some thoughts together. I'm a very small part of this thing. When you figure 100 years, I thought I was there for such a long, long time because I started with Corny in '44 and ended on my own, so to speak, in '55. And talking about years, either I gave Gil the wrong year or he misunderstood me.
I misunderstood.
Oh, that's a good thing you said that. 54 was the year that we co-championshiped with Linden for the state title. And it was due to the efforts of the boys you have already seen standing. And I say to them, thank you so very, very much for not only that year, but for all the years before and since then. And talking about since then, Summit has been in the highlights all the time. I live in the Poconos in Pennsylvania, but news travels very easily from Summit up into our area. I followed very, very closely all of the teams since I left Summit, which was in '73. But I, again, want to thank Gil, who did, I'm sure, most of the work in putting this together. I'd like to give you some thoughts of mine, but having been spoken to by individuals whom I know very well, I think I can get away with using at least one word that has 4 letters in it, which refer to excrements, if you will. I'd like to well, first of all, I'd like to find out whether or not there is a club here that has a national charter of CRS. No response? Well, I'm a member of that national organization, and I'm sure that many of you would be if there were a group meeting regularly. CRS refers to, can you guess? He said it, I'll say it louder. Can't remember shit. Now that should remind me of a story for our area that you might appreciate, because it was about this season of the year that traveling salesmen traveling through our area, which is still a lot of farmland, so you can still see a lot of pumpkins still standing within the graces of the tall timbers, if you will, better known as corn stalks. Well, he's driving through our area and he just can't hold it any longer, but he sees up in the field these pumpkins. So he goes up and cuts out the top of one of them, sits down, relieves himself, puts the top back on, travels about a mile and notices an old general store. Well, the next time that he comes through, which is several months later, he stops at this general store and asks the owner if he can use his facilities, which is granted. He does, and then he comes out and tells him what he did 2 months previously. And the farmer, the old-timer, looked at him and said, excuse me a minute, I have to call my wife. So he goes over to the hall phone, turns the crank, rings it, puts this up to his ear, and he says, hi, Vi, this is Cy, that worship in the pumpkin pie. which then reminds me of the sign language story. Now, visualize a bus stopped at a corner to pick up passengers. A little lady climbs the 2 steps up to the driver and greets him with this. He, in turn, greets her with this. And she does this. Bus driver goes in the opposite direction. She does this. He does this. She, in turn, does this and climbs off the bus. Well, two people behind her asked the driver, what was that all about? So that lady is a deaf mute. But what was she saying then? Well, this, she said, is this fare 5 cents? The driver says, no, it is 10 cents. She said, are you going downtown? He said, no, I'm going uptown. She said, are you going past the dairy? He said, no, we're going down past the fish yard. He says, oh shit, I'm on the wrong bus. You've heard enough shitty stories. I just want to say to everybody, thanks for the opportunity of having been able to form such fine friends. I can't just shake hands with any of them. I love them too much, and I'm sorry if I have squeezed any of them too hard, because I heard one say, oh, watch my back, which I'm sure was true. But again, thank you for inviting me, Gil. Thanks for extending the invitation. And thank you, everybody, for helping make this be such a lovely time.
We have some special awards that Gil would like to announce that are associated with the Candrat years, and then we're going to eat dinner.
Actually, we're going to eat dinner a lot faster than that. One thing I'd like to do is, this was not a one-man show, and just briefly, without applause until the end, let me just have the people that were on this committee and worked 6 months to get everybody here stand, and at the end, give them a hand, please. Don Geddes, Bill Scheck, Tom Pryor, Dan Nelson, John Mallory, Steve Schroeder, Brad Paxson, Rick Carbone, Steve Ford, Rob Bradle, Steve Bradle, Rob Paisler, Phil Scheiposh, Howie Anderson, and Jim Benedict. Chris Badgley also. If I missed anyone, please stand up and give these guys a good hand. Please. This is not a political group, but we do have a Hilltopper who has had some political success and is here tonight. Congressman-elect Bob Franks, would you stand up, please? He's not here, he's in Washington. He's in Washington. He had another affair. Okay. Fellas, Grillos needs about 5 minutes to set up dinner. I'm sure that you can get yourself another drink. Enjoy dinner. When you hear the whistle, please.
extended 50. Want me to turn the mic up? That means you can hear me, you dumb bastard, if you just in the last hour, I've heard passes that were at least 37 yards longer than they actually occurred, weights that were at least 200 pounds greater than they actually were, scores that were at least 57 points higher than they actually were, and that's fine. Everyone seems to be having a great time, and can we once again just have a little round of applause for the guys who put all this together. Move on now because we have two more coaches that we want to introduce. And the next one made his appearance in the middle of the 50s when Alton J. Gast was principal. I'll come back to that in a minute. Elwood Cornog was still baseball coach. Followed by Jack Underwood was basketball coach. Are you listening over there? I'm going to ask questions later, Quita. I don't care if you are director of recreation, you're going to get, questions here. Tom, are you listening? Thank you. Okay. The GO show in that year was Brigadoon. And by the way, Grace Jones was not coaching, although the yearbook was dedicated to her. And followed by Howie Anderson, made his appearance for the first time as a coach at Summit High School. Those are the same guys who at the bar said you were a son of a bitch, by the way, but that's okay. And Howie Anderson was still running the single wing 30 years ago at that point. Howie Anderson holds the record, if you will, for the longevity among football coaches in the 100-year celebration that we're now going to celebrate. I don't think that I've heard so many stories around the room about Howie, and I don't believe half of them. But I have to tell you that I have known Howie personally and professionally. And Willie, I'll throw your ass out again for another 5 days. I did it before, I'll do it again. I don't care if you're a professional athlete. I've known Howie professionally and personally for a good many years. And there are, I have to tell you, few people, as a matter of fact, I will say that among the professional people that I know, that is many in my 36 years in education, for whom I have a higher level of respect, not only for an individual as a coach, but as a teacher, but as a human being who cares about kids. Howie Anderson.
This is a night that you can't, as far as my personal feeling is, a night that you can't possibly imagine. Move closer. many of those who I had the pleasure of coaching, but I can say this, that of all the good-looking guys, I had the pleasure of coaching them all. I mean, all the good-looking guys played for me, not for Pete or Jim or Elwood, but all the good-looking guys played for me. And, you know, with a couple of exceptions. You know, Don told the story about Pete when they got beat that day against Springfield, starting at the bottom on that Monday and holding up a football and saying, we're going to start at the beginning and this is a football. Now, I did the same thing, and Anthony Serino said, ho, not so fast, coach. In all seriousness, I came to Summit in 1956, and Don was talking about Grace Jones, and I want to tell you a true story. She was the one that interviewed me and hired me because I was still a member of the phys ed department at Summit. You have to teach as well as coach, and when she was shown around the school district, this is when Grace was hired, and this is the true story. She was shown around in a horse and carriage. That's how long she had been at Summit. And she left just several years after I came, and Jack Underwood was the director of athletics. And in the mid-50s, we were still playing at Memorial Field. And the last year that we played at Memorial Field, we had a great football team. It was 1959, and we won the Suburban Conference Championship and won the first state championship that I had the pleasure of being a part of. Then the 60s came 1963 and the first undefeated, untied season that we had. And I really feel very fortunate in being a part of a lot of things, not only with Summit football, but with history. And in 1963, we're going for our first undefeated, untied season. And the Friday that we were going out to practice before our Thanksgiving Day game was the day that President Kennedy was assassinated. And there was that traumatic experience, and then the days off and the experience that the American public went through. And then we played on Thanksgiving Day and beat Chatham for our first undefeated, untied season. And then we started a string of 6 consecutive conference championships late in the 60s. It went into the 70s and had 18 straight victories, and then into the 80s, and played a game in the Meadowlands on a really cold Saturday night. Last time that a truly professional team played at Giant Stadium. Those years were great years in a lot of respects, not only in wins and losses. And I tell you, I could when I look and shake hands with you fellas, I can remember a lot of things about every one of you, and they were all good. And even though some games we lost, when the officials were against us, so we ran out of time. Every single game was memorable, and I think it should be for you too, because you lose, you learn something when you lose, as well as when you win. And they were great years, and I feel very fortunate in being a part of this whole Summit history. And this would be the proper time to say that the guys who worked on this reunion and the committee led by Gil, who was the driving force, and I don't know what we would have done without Gil's leadership and without his motivation. tell you a true story about Gil. The first year I was here, 1956, we went up to play Caldwell, and they had a very fine football team. And it was the last game of the season, it was before we played on Thanksgiving Day. And I don't remember the score at the time, but they used a belly type offense. You know, the quarterback could put the ball in the stomach of the fullback and ride it out. And the official made a mistake and blew the whistle. And then our team stopped, and they let the play go on, and he either scored or went for a big gain. And we questioned the call that they allowed the play to continue when he obviously had blown the whistle. And Gil got really upset. Now, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you do. But he was playing defensive end and rolled up his sleeves and said, "Don't worry, we're going to win this." And it's the most upset that I've ever seen Gil, even in a loss situation. And we wound up upsetting Caldwell in that last game of the season. But anyway, that's. I just wanted to thank the committee and the people who put so much time and effort into this, because it's a great turnout. And you should feel very fortunate, as I do, for being part of a great, great community, school system, and athletic tradition. And I'll tell you, it would be impossible for any of the coaches, and you know, the head coaches are only as good as all the ones who have worked with them. And it would be impossible for us to put together an all-star team, because each and every one of you would have something to contribute. And there is no one that we would lose to, not in New Jersey anyway. And I just feel very fortunate and proud to be a part of this tradition, and be a part of this heritage, and be a part of this town, and this saying that is known as Summit football. Thanks a lot.
Can you hear me in the back now? Elwood, can you hear me? Elwood, wake up, take his pulse there, will you please? Thank you. We're going to bring you up to date with the Jim Benedict years, but before we do that, there are a couple of comments that I'm going to take liberty to insert. I don't know of any high school, I haven't researched it thoroughly, but I don't know of any high school in the state of New Jersey that can say that there's 100 years of tradition that's been in the hands of 4 people. I think if you look around the state, you will find that there are 4 people in as many years in a great many schools, and I think that says something. When I started to do a little research for this program tonight, and it wasn't really the first time that I came to this realization, but I have to tell you that one of the high watermarks, one of the things that I am most proud of in my own particular life is the fact that I am the principal of Summit High School, that I am a Summit High School graduate, and I'm a Hilltopper, and I'm terribly proud of that. And there's only been 3 of us who have been at the helm or coached the Summit High School system in the last 115 years. And I think that is something of which I take great pride. I'm not here tonight as principal of Summit High School. I want to make that very clear to you. I'm here as one of you. I'm here as a Hilltopper. I'm here as someone who has lived in Summit all his life, as many of you have. I'm here as someone who is very proud of our community and what we have tried to accomplish. I will say that we have not always been successful in each and every case, but we certainly have tried. There's been a tradition at Summit that I don't think is equaled any place. I don't care for what end of the state you go, north, east, south, or west. I don't think you're going to find what we have been able to accomplish. And the difference is not in money, and the difference is not in the demographics of the community. The difference is in the quality, and I say this very sincerely, is in the quality of the people that have been working with the young people of this community. And I'm talking about our coaches who are here tonight, not only our head coaches, but our assistant coaches and the teachers in Summit High School who have given their lifeblood, literally their lifeblood, to making a difference in the lives of young people. And I have the absolute utmost and greatest respect for them, and I take my hat off to them. Gil has been prompting me now for about a week as to what I'm supposed to do or not do, and he just said I'm supposed to do awards now. Gil?
Step aside. Thank you, Don. Here's your hat. What's your hurry? I'd like the following people to stand up, please, because they are entitled to some accolades here, too. Leroy Brennan, wait till we're done, please. Retta Hearn, incidentally. Program tomorrow and see the records set by Summit High School, there's one glaring omission. I think this is Tommy Odell's fault, but I won't hold it against him. For most receptions for touchdowns, you'll see Timmy and Tommy Odell, 8. Add Red Ahern, 1945, 8. Red, you gotta stand up. I'm sorry, Red. Please stand up. Stand up. Leroy Brennan, stand up. Leroy, please stand up. Stay standing until we're done here. Art Cottrell. Art Cottrell. Brad. Hold it till the end. Brad Paxson. Brad Paxson. Leroy Horn. Emil George. Steve Hurdle. Steve Hurdle. Bill Krug. Jim Dietz. John Cratch. Ferndorf. And Freckles Trengrove. And his coach at Summit High School, stand up. Give all these coaches a great hand, please. Now Don's cutting me off. You're not going to cut me off yet because there are 3 teams from Howie's era that have an equal number of people present. And if you were on a championship team and you're not mentioned, go to the Catlock Fieldhouse and you'll see your name on the Wall of Fame. I had several people come up to me and say, 54, you forgot Phil Butler, Larry Lockhart, and Lane Lombardo. I did forget them. Sorry, fellas. There's other people that have been forgotten. But here are from Howie's era, the most people are here tonight from these teams. We'll start with the 1973 state championship team. Stand up, and at the end, we'll have a hand. John Reynolds, Fred Schmidt, Jim Gross, Bill George, Brad Paxson, Dave Malin, Dave Collins, Ernie Quackney, Dave Mupford, Kevin Dunn, George Gross, and Willie Wilson. From the 76 team, stand up and wait till the end for the applause. Jeff Bland, Anthony Serino, Jim Conover, Chris Funky, Jerry Petricoro, Mike Borman, Michael Horn, and Mike D. Simone. And last, it's the same number from the 1980 state championship team. Robert Carbone, stand up. Mark Ford, Rob Bradle, Ed Tamiaka, Bob Carbone, Jerry Hunt, Chris Broadman, Mark George.
There's one thing that Jill forgot to announce, and I think it's a very nice gesture on his part. That all members of
Leo
the championship...
Chris Baxley.
You got your right from your left. That's very good, guys. I'm glad we got that straight. Yeah, that Gil has offered to provide pro bono, that means free, legal work for all members of those championship teams for 1 year. And I think what he said was that after he looked at the list, that is a group that will undoubtedly require considerable legal services anytime in any given calendar year. So Tom Miller is going to give $100 worth of free building supplies to each member of those championship teams. That's just very generous on your part, Tom. This brings us up to date, and to date is Jim Benedict. And the Benedict years which have followed Howie Anderson, and that has not been an easy act to follow. But if I had to characterize the Benedict years, I would say that it has been a series of years that have been done with great professional pride, great success, and a class act. And I'd like to introduce to you our head football coach, Jim Benedict.
Try these out. This is a new addition this year. Not sure whether I'll need them or not. First of all, I'd like to thank Don and continue on the theme that he talked about, educational excellence in our high school. You know that this year Summit High School was voted or selected by New Jersey Magazine as one of the top 8 high schools in the state of New Jersey academically, and I think that's a credit to Don Geddes, and I think we should give him a hand right now. I can't figure out how a school that is one of the top 8 academic schools ever got me to work for them. But one of the things that I've learned about Don is a man of his word. 1987, I was hired by Don, and he promised me that he would create a high school that was worthy of our football program. And I think that he's lived up to that promise. Can you hear me? In 1987, Dick Fyander, Don, and Howie offered me the opportunity to work for Summit High School and try to continue the tradition of excellence that was established by coaches Kandrat and Cornog and Anderson. I, of course, knew of Summit High School's great athletic tradition, But I didn't realize that, and so I was very attracted to accept the position. But I didn't realize that there were also some problems and some liabilities with this job. Number one, we were the smallest high school in the Watchung Conference. Didn't realize that at the time. Number two, we had the smallest coaching staff in the Watchung Conference. And number three, we probably had the smallest budget in the Watchung Conference. At least not larger than any of our opponents. But with these liabilities, we, the coaching staff, the players, and myself decided to roll our sleeves up and get to work. And these are the things that we've been able to accomplish over the last 6 years. In '87, well, the kids carried me when we were 4-5. We were highlighted that year by a 53-7 win over Cranford, who was a playoff-bound team. Kind of a game that I think kind of made our program during my time, kind of got us on the right track. During that time, we won our first game against Rawley, and then we lost 4 games in a row. And I heard various things. Coach Kandrat was talking about CRS. I heard things like DKS and YAS and don't know shit and you know why you are shit, you know, and things like that. And I wasn't sure that maybe that I had made the right selection, but as it turned out, in '88 we kind of got things turned around a little bit, and there was a great group of kids there. There was a great group of kids in '87 too, but their problem was that they were just caught in a transition between a great coach Howie Anderson and somebody who was just trying to follow him. But in '88 we were 8-3 and we were state championship team. We beat Linden, a top 10 team. We beat them 14-0. We beat Irvington, a top 10 team, 7-6, and then we went on to play Dover and beat them in overtime and won the state championship that year when Mark Smith made that great tackle on the goal line. Probably a tackle that symbolizes a lot of you know, Summit football and kind of stands for what you guys have done. He's over there, he's about a 145-pound kid, brought down a 215-pound kid on the 1-foot line, and one that helped win the game for us with that play. In 1989, we were 8-2, state semifinalist team in Watchung Conference Championships. A great team, a team that was talented like a Group 4 team, and really dominated many of the people that they played. In 1990, we were 5-4. We had wins over nationally ranked team at the time, Union High School. They were ranked 12th in the nation, 2nd in the state when we played them. We brought down a team with a losing record, and we beat them 13-12 at their place. And a win that was probably characterized as one of the all-time great upsets in the history of New Jersey football, and something that we're very proud of, and also something we're very proud of. Howie's team beat them. We beat them. It's the only high school program in the state of New Jersey that has a winning record and an undefeated record over Union High School. Also during that year, we beat a state championship team in Scotch Plains on Thanksgiving, and they were a great team, and we dominated that team and beat them. I think it was 14-0, wasn't it? 14-7. Anyway, it was a dominant game for us, and just ended up the season tremendously. In '91, we were 5-5, but we were a state semifinalist team again. We had huge comeback wins over Linden and Rawley, and it was a team that overachieved, and a team that we'll always be proud of, a team that's lived up to the tradition that the people in this room have set. That brings us to '92. And this team in '92 is 6-1, and going into tomorrow's game against Governor Livingston, they've already clinched the Watchung Conference Championship. They've already clinched a 2nd seed in the state tournament. And if you see them tomorrow, you've got to come out to the game. There's about 25 of them suited up. And they're little, but they don't know this. And they just play. And they play with what I think is an inheritance that you guys have given us. And it's a tradition that we are going to continue. And you've got to come tomorrow and see us play, and we need you there, because there are times when we felt you've been there, and you've batted away passes that should have been caught, and you've pushed our guys over the goal line, and you've helped us win games that maybe we shouldn't be winning basically if you just took a look at our size and our personnel. Well, anyway, these are our records, and they're our championships, and they're the exterior things that the fans know about. They're the things that the sports writers know about, the conference and the county things and the state things and so forth. We're very proud of these things, and really, these are things that other people know about, but they're things that we stand for that you guys know about, people in this room know about, and they're things that go beyond what the sports writers know about, and what the average fan knows about. They're the link between you guys and the kids that are going to step out on that field tomorrow. They're things that we believe in, they're things that are values, and they're things that I know that you guys have given to Summit football, and they're things that I know that you guys have taken away from Summit football. And these are the things that we believe in, and these are the things I'd like to go over. Number one is honesty. We believe that we've got to have any organization, in order for it to be successful, it's got to be built on a foundation of honesty. And the first thing is coach to player, player to coach, player to player, and number one, probably of all of them, is player to himself. We've got to have tremendous honesty for us to have any kind of success at all in our lives. That's what we teach, it's what we preach, it's what you guys have given to us, and it's the cornerstone of our program. Second thing is commitment. We are committed to a concept of constant and never-ending improvement. That's what we teach to our players. We want to have it as a team, we want to have it as individuals, we want to have it as students, and we want to have it as citizens. We've all taken this from Summit football, and we've all given this back to Summit football, and it's one of the things that's made us a great program. It's one of the things that's made us the envy of the county and the envy of the state. Third thing is discipline. We ask our kids, and I know you guys did it, always be on time, always practice with controlled intensity, always exhibit good sportsmanship, and we believe in this. The person that controls other people is truly a powerful person, but the person that controls himself is even mightier still. That's what we preach, and I know that you guys believe in that also. Fourth thing is courage, man, and I'll tell you, the guys in this room, you're all here because of courage, because this is the difference between football players, and soccer players, basketball, and any other sport, because it takes a lot of guts to play football. There's physical courage and there's mental courage, and they're both as equally as important. You all remember your first hit, the time you first stood up and you said, I'm going to stick my nose in there, I'm a little bit worried, I'm a little bit afraid, but I'm going to stick my nose in there, I'm going to see if I'm still alive. And you made that hit. Or if you don't remember that one, you remember your best hit. But it's something that separates you guys and from the other people. And it's a special thing. We ask our kids to display courage every day. We ask them to display mental courage. It takes a lot of guts to show up every day at football practice, which is a tough, hard, grueling thing. It's a lot easier nowadays for the kids to go out and party and play Nintendo and have their parents drive them to, over to the mall so they can go shopping, all those kind of things that kids have nowadays. But it takes a lot of guts to be a football player. It takes a lot of courage, and it's a dying breed, and it's sad to think about it, but we've got to make sure that this thing lives on in Summit. The fifth thing is responsibility. Responsibility. We ask our kids to do your best and to represent the team with character and dignity at all times. We feel that our kids have an obligation to consider the welfare of the team whenever they make a decision. And we teach that. And we think that that's something that isn't taught a lot today in our country. And it's something that's very important in our football program and in our town. We ask our kids to take full responsibility for their situation in life. It's the decisions that they have made that have placed them in their position right now. Whether they're first team, second team, B student, C student, failing out of school, they've made the decisions that put themselves in that position. And we ask them to be responsible and own up to that, because if they do that, then they know that they can make the decisions to change and become a great person. The sixth thing that we look for is appreciation. We ask our kids to approach each practice and each game with an attitude of gratitude. And our feeling is this, you guys all got a chance to play, but there's a hell of a lot of people that never got a chance to play football because they either physically couldn't do it or they just couldn't get out on the field for some reason. And we ask our kids, if you thank God that you have the opportunity to go out and practice every day when other people can't do it. That you'll go out and you'll practice so hard that you're going to become a good football team. We ask them to appreciate their opponents, especially the great ones. We love to play great ones because they bring out the best in our competitiveness. They make us rise to another height athletically. And we thank God to play great people. And in the Watchung Conference, we get a chance to do that. And we're thankful for officials, and we're thankful for the rules of the game. Because without the rules, it's not as good a game. And without the officials, although they're a pain in the neck sometimes, they make it a better game. So we thank our kids, we ask our kids to appreciate that. Lastly, we ask them to be leaders, and we ask them to demonstrate leadership. And what we tell them is that if you do the other 6 things, then you're a leader. And if you do that, and you walk out of our program with these values, then you will be a great leader, and you'll be an asset to your community, and you will have taken on the heritage that's been passed down 99 years to this current team. When I first came to Summit, I think my greatest asset was ignorance, because I did not understand what we have here. And I came in with an attitude of, well, I'm just going to be a great coach, and I didn't understand, what a great heritage was placed in my hands. And it hasn't been until the last couple of years that I've really understood that. Now I'm nervous as hell to play this game tomorrow. Fellas, in closing, I just want to give you a little update on the current status of Summit football. I talked about our record. We're 6-1. We're extremely proud of the team. They're a group of kids that have definitely overachieved. They're tiny, they're young, and they love playing the game. There's only 25 of them suited up. And that I'm proud of, but it also saddens me, because there's tons of kids in our school system that are missing out on the things that you guys got. And we have to find a way to get more kids interested in playing football. And the sport of football now is a dwindling thing in this area. Not as many kids play, and even in the great programs, not as many kids play. We've got to find a way to stir up the interest again. This is one way that we're doing it. We've got to do other things in our town. We sat at a Board of Education meeting last spring, and we listened to board members, we listened to people get up and tell board members that they should drop freshman football. And I was shocked to have board members not say, well, we're not going to drop freshman football because it's a valuable experience. They just sat there and they listened. And there was no one that stood up and defended us. And as I said, we operate with a small budget. And I listened to people say, well, we've got to drop a coach because we can save money that way. And we already operate with 2 coaches less than everybody else in the conference. There are things that are happening that are scary for the future of Summit football. And yet we still have the spirit. We need your help. I don't know exactly how it's going to come about, but we've got to make sure that Summit football is in good hands and stands strongly for another 100 years. We will let you know what you can do at a later date. Thank you very much, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Jim, there's a conviction among many of us that there is at least as much education that goes on in the locker room or in the football field or on the basketball court as there is in any physics or science or English classroom in our school, and I happen to be one of those people who support that position very strongly. We're going to start to conclude our program now by asking Gil to return to the platform. We're going to have some special awards. We're going to have our 50-50, and we're going to bid you good night. Gil?
Good night does not mean go home. Good night means stay and have a good time with your teammates and coaches, but we will end the formal end of it. Tomorrow is going to be a great day. We're going to have a brunch at 10:30 at Washington School, a good football game with Coach Benedict and the Hilltoppers against Berkeley Heights. And then at halftime, we're going to dedicate the field house at Memorial Field in honor of Elwood Cornog, and the field house at Tatlock in honor of Howie Anderson. It'll be a great day. And we hope that everybody will come and have a good time. From Jim's era, we do have, there was a state championship team in 1988, and they equaled the numbers of the other teams. So we'll have these fellas stand and then give them a hand at the end, please. Tim Deutsch, Pete Druhart, Flavio Acitelli, Mark Smith, Dave Golden, Phil Ryan, Matt Duffy, Jim Fleming, Jason Evers, Dan Golden, and Dave Golden. Please stand up, fellas. Hope everybody will use their ticket that they received tonight. Have a great time at the game tomorrow and the brunch beforehand. Thank you.
What if we could have oldest Hilltopper, Stu Ball Brian, come on up here and draw the winning ticket for us. Stu Ball, come on up.